So today is the day, 6th of January 2020. So let's see how we got to where we are now. Let's go back past 10 years. When I started a relationship with my now current wife, Tracy. You know, we knew each other from school, like way back in the day. And then we rekindled again through Facebook. So just over 10 years ago. So we met back up, we went for some drinks, and you know, we sort of fell pretty quick. And you know, Tracy also had a son, Bailey, who was 4. You know, Bailey he's a good little kid. You know, he was really tiny for his age. He was really small, always a little tiny kid. And he had, you know, a cheeky little grin on him, little chubby cheeks. You know, and he could speak pretty well. Good Bailey. You know, he said a couple of words funny, like sausages for sausages, but little things like that. But you know, you could have a conversation with Bailey at 4. And you know, Bailey's dad weren't around much. You know, we sort of turned into a little family there, you know, pretty quick. You know, and yeah, we was all good, we was all happy. I moved in with Tracy and Bailey, and yeah, we was all good. You know, taught Bailey how to ride his bike, you know, up and down the street when he first got his bike. And yeah, just normal family stuff. You know, I worked full time. Tracy was working then. Tracy was actually had a decent job, teaching adults how to, you know, get qualifications. You know, adults that have come out of school with no qualifications. You know, she worked for this centre that helped them get the qualifications they needed. So like the maths and English, and you know, you could do a lot of other ones as well. And you know, I ended up doing some because I didn't leave school with much. You know, I went to what was classed as the worst school in Britain, the riding school, Halifax. Look it up. You know, I left with nothing. So I was working full time, you know, minimum wage job, sweeping dust. So I got my qualifications, you know, with the help of Tracy. When I got with her, you know, she told me about what she did and that, and then yeah, she helped me get my other qualifications and stuff. You know, we wanted another baby, and obviously, you know, it had been my first biological child. So yeah, you know, Tracy got pregnant. You know, she did everything she was supposed to do. Didn't smoke, didn't drink. You know, she's always had a pretty good diet anyway. Carried on like she would, just normal routine exercise. So yeah, she did everything that she could properly. And then yeah, just one day, you know, I think she was big at this point, but she still had 12 weeks to go. So, you know, and she just said herself one day, you know, something's not right, something's wrong. So we went straight down to hospital. You know, we got there. They got Tracy in bed. You know, started putting these heart rate monitors on her and, you know, the baby. And then yeah, they took away a urine sample, and you know, everything was all calm, heartbeat, everything was all right. You know, so we're all sat there waiting for the results of this urine test, and they're like, we need to get this baby out now. You know, apparently Tracy had preeclampsia, I think they call it, and this had developed into eclampsia. So they took Tracy for an emergency cesarean. Now, obviously, she had to have epidural. So, so they took us down for Tracy to get this epidural. You know, and there's a doctor, there's two nurses. You know, and the two nurses are saying, oh yeah, don't worry, no, he gets it every time, this is that and other, blah, 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 blah. You know, and one of the earliest memories I have of how strong Tracy was. Yeah, you know, he butchered her. He must have put this needle in her 5-6 times. So, you know, he did this thing. Yeah, 5 or 6 times. Couldn't get it. Eventually got it. I mean, yeah, he gets it. I'm not surprised. He just keeps putting it in until he does. It's easy, isn't it? So, you know, she got butchered for that, and then, you know, obviously they take cesarean. So again, if you don't know what a cesarean is, they basically cut the belly open. And, you know, take the baby out. I'm not too sure what happens afterwards. You know, I was sort of, you know, Tracy was lying on the bed. They had like the sheet up there blocking there, so we couldn't actually see anything that was going on. Tracy was obviously fully awake through all of it, but you know, the epidural numbs everything down there. So, you know, I was just sort of, you know, by Tracy's side, you know, just offering moral support, and, you know, so they did the cesarean, obviously stitched Tracy's belly back up, and then sent her onto the ward. And then, yeah, with the cesarean, you're supposed to go really steady for a couple of weeks. Obviously, you've just had a big, massive cut to your stomach. You know, it's just been stitched up. You're supposed to lay up for probably at least 2 weeks. I think it takes like 6 to 8 weeks to fully recover, whatever. But you know, so I put Tracy on the ward, and there was Dylan. You know, little tiny Dylan, and obviously I had to put Dylan in an incubator, everything like that. Yeah, he was really tiny. I remember his colour. He was like really pink, really sort of pinky, that, you know, where you could tell like the skin hadn't quite fully developed yet. Yeah, so he was in the incubator. Tracy was obviously out of it. So, you know, I sort of to and fro'd in between them through the night. And then my mother was there, Tracy's mother was there, I was there. My mum was upstairs with Tracy, I was downstairs with Tracy's mum outside having a cig. And then my mum rings me and she's like, you know, you need to come up now, like Tracy's having a fit, you need to come up now. So I've gone rushing up, you know, and they wouldn't let me in. So I've had to wait outside the room, and then I think they finally like managed to stabilise her, but she was still out of it. But you know, again, Tracy was like really anti-drugs, and you know, like I say, she didn't even smoke. She didn't drink or anything while she was pregnant. So you know, obviously she'd had massive amounts of drugs that day through the whole procedure of the C-section and it just everything. So you know, I don't know. Was it probably too much for her body to handle at that time? So yeah, they managed to stabilise her. Wouldn't let me go in the room. Tracy was knocked out. Her mum, my mum, they eventually went home. I had to wait in the waiting room. So yeah, I was asleep in the waiting room. I'm in the waiting room. I think it's maybe 3 o'clock in the morning now. Then nurse comes into the waiting room, says Tracy's asking where you are. So I've gone in, you know, and I've seen her, I've been with her. You know, sort of explained to her everything that's happened, you know, because I don't know how much she remembered at the time. Everything was all pretty much a daze to her. She obviously didn't remember having a fit. She didn't even remember she was talking to my mum. My mum was telling me afterwards that my mum was actually talking to her at the time when she had the fit. You know, and Tracy was having a conversation, and then yeah, my mum said all of a sudden she just sort of rolled over and started convulsing. So yeah, she didn't remember any of that. She didn't remember any of the conversation that she had with my mum beforehand. So yeah, I explained to her, and then obviously straight away she started asking about the baby. So I told her, you know, Dylan was on the neonatal ward then. And yeah, again, just her proving she was a little warrior. You know, she stood up, she got up, out of the bed, and started walking round to the neonatal ward. You know, I think the nurses were shocked themselves. You know, they had about 4 of them come rushing up saying, "Do you need some help? Do you want some help?" You know, they did offer her help and that, but you know, she was fine. I just propped her up, and yeah, she walked it round to the neonatal ward. You know, we both sat there and we looked at Dylan then, and yeah, you know, he was tiny, and it was, you know, there was a lot of tubes and everything. You know, it was scary. You know, and it's the first time I've ever really seen, you know, someone with loads of hospital tubes and everything hanging out. And, you know, to see your own son, you know, yeah, and you know, you can't do nothing. Nothing you can do but just sit and watch, you know, and yeah, true sense of helplessness. You know, this went on for 20 days in total. You know, 20 days, and he got better. He was the same. You know, you could tell he had Tracy's blood in him. You know, he was battling it. He was getting better. You know, he started breathing on his own. You know, started opening his eyes, turning into, you know, this little baby. And yeah, I remember it you know, on, so I had my driving test on the Saturday, you know. This was, you know, one of the big things at the time. You know, I was 22, get my driving licence, you know, get car and everything sorted. So I was like, I can, you know, if, you know, at that time, it was if I had a car, I could to and fro to the hospital a lot easier than what I am. You know, at the time I was getting taxis, buses, however I needed to do it to get there, you know, walking some places. So, yeah, it was like the next door, passed my driving test on Saturday, and yeah, passed my driving test. Second time round, or possibly third, maybe, I don't know, I'll have to double check that one. Yeah, passed my driving test, and then Sunday we went to see Dylan, and this was like the first time they could put clothes on him and stuff, you know, so he didn't have any tubes in him breathing or all like that. Yeah, get clothes on. That was the Sunday. And then on the Monday, I went to work as normal. And yeah, I don't think I'd been there that long. And then Tracy rang me. She said, "Oh, the hospital's phoned, you know, saying we need to go down there now, like now." So, you know, I think her dad had picked her up, and then he was coming to pick me up and said, you know, "We're coming to get you now." So they come and got us, and then they got me, sorry. Took us to hospital. You know, we walked onto neonatal ward. Over to Dylan's incubator. Oh. What a difference that can happen overnight. You know, it's just one of them sights that's burned on your brain. You know, you could see his veins and everything. It was, you know, totally discoloured. In all honesty, he looked dead. He looked dead. So, the next 7 hours, we had to just sit there and just watch him. Pretty much just butcher him. You know, they're trying, I know what they're doing. But, you know, and yeah, just watched it for 7 hours. During this 7 hours, you know, this was, you know, we was next to his incubator. You know, he was looking at us. And, you know, he reached his hand out. And we weren't even allowed to touch him. You could see in his eyes. And he just wanted to touch him. And then in the end, you know, one came to us. I could tell as soon as he started walking over, I knew. And then yeah, sure enough, Yeah, he comes over, he tells you, I'm sorry, there's not more we can do. But obviously, at that point, me and Tracy broke down. You know, we started crying. You know, just holding on to each other. One of the worst things I've ever experienced. So then what do you do? Well, you know, we did the traditional thing. You know, he had a funeral, he got buried. Later on, a lot later on, like just recently, in October, I had him exhumed and cremated. Tracy obviously knew about it, and you know, she was for it as well. And that was it. That was a dream crushed.